Creating a connection is the key to developing personal relationships. In this episode, we will talk about how to do this. Hi, I'm Rick Kendall.
And I'm Fred Ball.
Welcome to Management Mastery. The purpose of these podcasts is to share what each of us has learned about good and bad management in our combined over 40 years of experience, both as managers and executive coaches. During that time, we've coached managers at every level in companies from Fortune 100s to brand new startups in all major businesses, including nonprofits, government, and education. So whether you're just starting in your first management position or are an experienced manager looking to strengthen your management skills, we know our podcast will be valuable to you. When talking about building personal relationships, there are a number of challenges that you have to address. And then we want to talk about the behaviors that you need to engage in to successfully build these relationships with members of your staff. And finally, we're going to talk about how you can do a self-evaluation on an ongoing basis to see how you're doing.
Let's look at some of the challenges that you're going to have in building relationships. First of all, you've got the one about time. And if you take the position that spending time on building relationships is pulling you away from achieving other business goals, you are clearly barking up the wrong tree. Building relationships must be one of your top goals. And the first thing you have to do is you have to acknowledge the importance of building relationships. And then the second part of that is you've got to accept that it takes time. This is not a one meeting or a two meeting kind of thing. This is something that you're going to start, and it's going to take months to build relationships with people and build their trust. But in order to do this, you've got to take action. You've got to get started. And for some people, that's going to be a whole lot easier than it is for others. In some people, it's going to be a bit more challenging. But remember, you got to be a manager because you were able to build relationships with people. And so whether it's folks you know or people that you don't know, you need to take action and get moving. You must demonstrate through your actions that you care about the other person, and you want to strive to make the conversation about them. The more that conversation is about them, the better off you're going to be. And you also need to know that in times of stress, and there will be times of stress, you need to walk away from building relationships.
Yeah, I think what we want to do now is just talk about, okay, how do you go about it? You're right. It's not easy. It takes a lot of time, and you have to keep at it. But the first thing you need to be clear about is to make a first impression. I mean, we know the expression, first impressions last. And whether you're now the boss of a staff you've been working with or colleagues you've been working with, or you're coming in new from the outside, as we've talked about in earlier episodes, you're a new person now when you're the boss. So people are going to be looking at you and saying, okay, is he or she different? How do I deal with them? How are they going to deal with me? So as you meet with your staff personally, now that they are your staff, you want to smile, you want to be positive, you want to show enthusiasm, and you want to be aware of your body language. That is, I think there's research that shows that like well over half of the communication, it comes from people's visual perception of you, what you're doing, your stance, are you looking at your watch, etc. So you want to also be an active listener. When you engage with them, you need to be listening to what they say and also looking for commonalities. If they talk about an interest, is it one you share with them, one someone in your family shares? And you want to be able to respond to what they're saying to you. And you can do that also by asking engaging questions. You can start out with the obvious: how you doing? What's going on? Ask about family members that you might know about. If they've expressed to you interests in the past, either that you have in common or that you've been interested in, or even if you just know that they're interested in it, ask them how it's going.
Rick, I had a client recently in that same regard. Was just having a conversation with someone who reported to him, who was pretty close to the vest, didn't have much to say, but he asked him how he was, and the gentleman was pretty excited because he had taken his youngster to a train exhibit recently, and so he forgot that he's usually pretty introverted and started to tell my client about it. And my client got particularly interested and ultimately took his 4-year-old to see that train exhibit. And then when he came back, was able to go, when he went back to work, was able to go to that gentleman, thank him for giving him the suggestion to go, told him about it. They got into some detail about the trains that they had seen, and the reaction from that gentleman was much more open with him in the future.
That's a good point, Fred. I was going to say that you will find that you'll hit upon a topic where suddenly somebody who is normally shy, withdrawn, will suddenly blossom. You hit an interest. You manage to stumble on a topic where they suddenly become animated. And I've seen this many times where, but you get there by asking follow-up questions, by kind of trying to explore what are their interests, are there things you share in common. You may hear a rumor about them, something they're interested in or do, and anything like that you can ask about, so that shows that you have interest in them, will help you in terms of creating that relationship, because suddenly you've got a bond, regardless of what it is.
Yeah, sometimes that bond can be on a positive thing, such as the train show, and other times it's in relation to more of a problem. We're all living, we all, have good things going on in our lives, and we all have issues at any given time. And if you hear of something, in some cases, empathy may be a particularly strong reaction that you can have. For example, someone says to you that a parent is ill and they're trying to manage right now, coming to work, being effective at work, and at the same time caring for that elderly parent. And if you can express some empathy, gee, I've had the same thing happen. All of a sudden, you've got the person talking about something other than just their own issue, but you're expressing your concern, and you can say to them, look, if you ever need any time off or any of those kinds of things, just let me know. What that does is not only provide empathy, but it's a show of respect and sometimes an admiration that you can say, wow, that is really a difficult time that you're going through, to be both caring for the elderly parent and coming to work. And then sometimes the person will say, and I've got a child who's looking at colleges at the same time, so that you're expressing some admiration for them, showing the ability to do 2 or 3 things at the same time. The other thing you want to do is you want to look for the commonalities, as Rick said. I was recently at a situation where there was someone I knew, and she came up and said, gee, do you still have the big dogs? Because we've had a series of Newfoundlands, which is the big black dog that weighs about 160 pounds. And that led into a conversation that we had for probably 5 or 10 minutes. She was saying to me that she liked large dogs rather than small ones. She said, but yours was a sort of a humongous dog. And we had a great conversation about that. The other thing is shared experiences. There are other people who will be quite interested in telling you someplace that they've been or that they're interested in going in the future. And that gives you an opportunity, once again, to ask detailed questions. You're going to Europe. What countries are you going to in Europe? What activities do you want to do? Someone that I know recently went to a running of the bulls in Spain. So you never know where those kinds of conversations are going to lead.
Right. And, just in general on this topic, I once heard a very sound piece of advice, which, like most people, I didn't take very well. But that is that the three most important things to any individual are their name, the names of their children, and the name of their spouse. And if you can get those down, then you always have a conversation opener. How's Sally? How are the boys? George and Michael, that sort of thing. And that, just remembering people's name, we've all heard that, but it is really, really true. And I've had experiences where I've met people who, the second time you meet them, regardless of what the situation the first time, the second time you meet them, they know your name. And that memory of that never leaves you. So that's a way to build a relationship and to keep it going, because you can always ask about the kids and the wife or the husband.
Yeah, that's true. And then when you leave a meeting, in terms of your evaluation, you want to ask yourself, some questions. Did I speak personally with 1 to 2 people on my staff today? Very important, if you can do that, to set a goal to do that. When you think about the particular meeting that you just came out of, did we make a connection? What kind of a connection did we make? Another question you want to ask is, what did I learn about the person today? As Rick said, if your memory is not strong for people's names, you may want to write the people's names down. What did I learn about them today? They were interested in photography, which I never knew about before. And you may want to just jot that down if, in fact, that is the kind of thing that will be helpful. Although, more than likely, these kinds of things will stick with you, because you have a conversation like that. Those things, especially if it's unusual, will tend to stick with you. And then the last thing you want to say to yourself, okay, as I evaluate myself in that meeting, what do I need to do more of, and what do I need to do less of? Those are the kinds of things that I would want to look at in terms of the evaluation.
I would add to that, keep a record, and or you could do it in your head, but once a week, just sort of go through your staff mentally, or if you keep a list and do it, and have I spoken to everybody on a personal basis this week at least once? That way, because there are going to be people that are going to be real easy to talk to, and you'll engage with them all the time. You've got a lot of common interests. And then there are going to be, the Sally Milk Toasts or the, back office people that aren't forthcoming, and they can very easily fade into the background if you're not constantly reminding yourself, gee, I haven't talked to Sam in a week, and I gotta seek him out and just ask him how things are going at home, or has he, ask a question about an interest that he has. So, so that you cover the whole staff and you don't allow people to drop off your radar.
In summarizing what we talked about today, we spoke first about the challenges in building personal relationships. And the key there is to recognize and be involved in the importance of relationship building and to demonstrate through your actions that you care about the other person and you're striving to make the conversation about them. We then talked about the behaviors of being curious and asking people about themselves and what their interests are and so forth, and then following up with those with follow-up questions that often get involved in greater detail, giving you the opportunity to talk about how you empathize with them if it's a problem, how you show respect if it is things that they're doing particularly well, and it's finding commonalities and mutual understandings along the way, all of which will help in the relationship building and help you to build trust. And then we talked in terms of evaluation about speaking personally with 1 to 2 people a day and seeking to make a connection and making sure that you are able to talk about that connection again the next time that you're talking to them or at some point in the future.
We hope you have found this podcast useful and will come back again for more management mastery. If you have any comments about this or any of our episodes, or would like to find out more about our other services, including one-on-one coaching and group seminars for managers, visit our website at careercoachclass.com. Thanks for listening.